Hi everyone and welcome. I am so pleased to bring you this masterclass today because we're diving into a topic that acts as the quiet engine behind everything our children do. As parents, we are taught to watch for the big, visible milestones, the first roll, those wobbly steps, and the first precious words. We tick them off the list and we celebrate them, just as we should. But what we don't often talk about is what is happening underneath those moments. If milestones are the fruit on the tree, today we are talking about the roots and the soil. Before a child can sit still at a desk, regulate their big emotions, or even coordinate a crawl, there is a complex foundation being built within their nervous system. Sometimes, when a child is struggling with behaviour or focus, it's not a lack of will. It's often a sign that these hidden foundations just need a little more support. So in today's session, we are going to look under the hood at the first 5 years. We'll explore how the brain and body connect, why the nervous system is key to regulation, and how to spot when a child is working harder than they should just to get through the day. To guide us through this conversation, I am thrilled to have Hsiao Bond from Neural Connections with us. Hsiao specialises in a gentle, body-based approach to development. She helps families strengthen the brain-body foundations that support everything from sleep and feeding to learning and behaviour. Her work is all about looking at the whole child with curiosity, ensuring every child has the strongest possible foundation to grow from. Because when we understand what is happening beneath the surface, we can support our children with much more confidence and a lot more ease. Hi, I'm Kathy, your host. For those of you that don't know, I'm a postpartum and infant care doula, village building expert, mum, and the founder of Pregnant and Popped. I will be saying all of the important boring stuff before we begin, and then I'll be handing over to our special guest today. Then I'll jump back in towards the end to moderate the Q&A session later. Super conscious you're not here to hear about me though, so let's get through the boring stuff quickly. The legal stuff. The educational content of our masterclasses is the work of our Pregnant and Popped providers. We are not licensed medical or legal professionals, and this is neither a medical nor legal platform. The content of today should not be considered medical or legal advice. Instead, it is always best to consult with your specialist providers for any specific concerns or questions, and use the information from today as a complementary tool to help guide those discussions and care plans. And now I would love to introduce you to our speaker, Hsiao Bond, the founder of Neural Connections. She is an MNRI Core Specialist. You're going to explain that to us in more depth, aren't you, soon? And instructor who has dedicated her career to revolutionizing how we understand child development. What makes her approach so unique is that she looks past surface behaviors to focus on the nervous system, the foundational messaging between the brain and the body that allows a child to feel safe, focused, and ready to learn. She understands this journey deeply because she has lived it. As a mother to 2 daughters, she spent years navigating disjointed therapies for her own neurodiverse child before discovering the power of working from the bottom up. She shifted her focus from just hitting milestones to strengthening the brain-body foundations, and the results were life-changing. Today, she uses that lived experience and her deep clinical experience to help families move away from busyness and toward the simple, profound changes that actually move the needle for a child's well-being. She has a wonderful gift for making complex neuroscience feel accessible and actionable, and I am so pleased she is here to help us understand our children from the inside out. Hsiao, thank you so much for joining us. Let's hand over to you.
Okay, hello everyone. Welcome, welcome. I'm Hsiao, Neural Connections, and you're here today because you are interested to know more about things that are hidden, like Kathy said, hidden foundations of child development. So we're looking beyond milestones. Okay, for those of you who do not know me, I have over 20 years of experience as an educator in public and international schools in Singapore, as well as overseas and to other countries overseas. I'm MNRI Core Specialist and instructor. I am currently the instructor for parent workshops and toolbox for dyslexia. I have a 15-year-old daughter and a 17-year-old daughter. She has some special needs. And the reason why I founded NeuroConnections is because I know what it's like to be the one advocating, pushing things for my own family. And so I really want to help families thrive. And I really want to focus on working beneath and starting from bottom up, because everything is in a very holistic lens. And that's how we can do the best when it comes to making progress. So this approach is on sensory and reflex integration. And as we go through this presentation, I'll throw in a few of that concept in a very small, gentle manner, because I'm very aware that people are coming here with different walks of life, different experience. So this is here for you to make connections in regards to what's happening with your children. Okay, thank you. All right, to begin with, I would like to really quickly find out how many children do you have and how old they are, because I can't see anybody's faces. I don't know how many people are here attending, and I would like to make sure what I present is really targeted for you. Okay, I can't see the chat either, Kathy, but I'm just going to continue. Okay, so milestones reassure us, but they don't tell us the full picture. For example, you might say, my baby did tummy time, my baby crawled, so everything should be fine, right? Maybe, maybe not. Oh, let me have a look quick to the chat. Okay, 5-year-old, one child, 9 months old, 5-year-old. Okay, great. This is the age group. Fantastic. All right. And what the parents are told. Babies crawl in many different ways, and they're all okay. But my question to you is, what should we actually look for? Because reassurances don't actually tell us what to look for. People say children have their own timelines. Let's just give them time. But what should we look for? I feel like we need to have a lot more details, because when I work with children of 7 years old, 8 years old, 9 years old, 4 years old, I'd say things to parents, and many of them would say, I wish I knew this when they were little. I wish I knew this when they were 1 year old, 2 years old. So this is the reason why I'm giving this masterclass today. Okay. Here we go. This slide says movement plus proprioception equals brain development. Again, I'm not sure if you're aware of the term proprioception. I'm sure you know the word movement. Movement is to do with the sensory system, to do with movement, and it's actually inside the inner ear. That's where you sense gravity. That's movement. Proprioception is deep pressure and understanding your body. Simply put, if you have a child who knows their body really well, who can close their eye, can reach for things without breaking, right? Or hold a cup of coffee, not coffee, but a drink without spilling, that means they understand the body. They have a really good body awareness. But there are children who are quite clumsy, who like to poke and push, or who like to always be clingy to people, or who seem to be always leaning against furniture. That means their proprioception is not super developed. Okay. When we want good brain development, we want combination of movement and combination of being squeezed and pressure. Because if you think about when people are pregnant, mothers are pregnant with the babies are inside the womb, and how much pressure and input is the fetus and the babies later on learning, right? That's proprioception. So you have a picture of the brain, and then you have a picture of the nervous system. The nervous system is all about signals. I have people thinking the nervous system means that you are nervous. It does not mean that. It means nerves going between the brain and the body is to do with signals. Okay, it shows us what's happening in the brain. This is a big idea. I want you to know that we need to have a lot of pressure and we need to have a lot of movement in order to develop the brain. Okay, so I have two videos of babies. One is a baby on the floor, belly on the floor, tummy on the floor crawling. The other one is on hands and knees. What do you see? Which one comes first? What do you think? Do both matter? Can you please write down your answers? What do you think? Does belly crawling comes first, or does hands and knees come first? Does it matter? Does it matter how long they spend on the belly? Does it matter how long they spend on crawling knees? What happens if they skip or they have a very shortened version of one of them? Yeah. Okay. So some of you wrote down belly crawling absolutely comes first, and you are right. But do both matter? Let's move on. Why belly crawling really matters. I am going to be pushing the idea of belly crawling more than hands and knees crawling, because I know most babies who crawl, they definitely crawl on hands and knees. But there are who don't crawl on belly very well, and they spend a teeny bit of time on the belly crawling, and then they go straight to the hands and knees. The floor, my friends, the floor is super important. Floor, body pushing down onto floor is development, is food for the brain. When you have your tummy pushing down into the floor, the touch and the squeeze and the writhing and movement of the tummy against the floor is really telling the brain where your gravity center is, where the middle of your body is a baby, head, tummy, and the feet. The tummy is right in the middle of the body. It shows the length of the whole body. The brain is receiving all the delicious information when the tummy is on the floor, because you have full body engagement, you have lots of contact points, and it provides sensory feedback. The floor is a very powerful teacher. More belly crawling time is best. You want a super long belly crawling time, and you have tummy time, then tummy time is with the feet and arms moving. We want a lot of that. Okay, here you are. What do you see? Can you comment about the head control? Can you see this baby here in blue? And this baby here in green? And this baby here in pink? And then this one with black and white? What do you notice about head control? Do you see the feet, the toes, the hands? Low to the floor is best for body awareness, foundation for learning. People don't talk about this when it comes to crawling. People talk about crawling and that's it. But really, if you do belly crawling, you as a baby are more likely having more information with your hands open, rubbing, touching, grabbing, pulling against the floor. That is feedback input for the brain. You as a baby, if your tummy is on the floor, you're going to have a lot of big toe engagement here. Do you see the big toes? And the feet are on the floor because you're trying to push, trying to rub. However, if you go to your hands and knees crawling, right? Look what happens to the feet and the toes. They don't get so much movement and traction. The toes tend to be crawled, so you're missing that. You want absolutely to be on the floor with your belly as long as possible. Okay, you see this picture here, the big toe? Okay, we want all the delicious input because low to the floor is best for body awareness. It gives us the foundation for learning. Okay, this gives us more foundation for when the baby is upright later. Okay, if you think about the baby standing, walking upright, how much information is the brain going to get versus if the baby is on the floor horizontally, right? Horizontal, head, tummy, feet. The tummy is literally in the middle of the body. It's a gravity center, right? The tummy is here. The head and the gravity center is getting all this information about the core. How many people have heard children who are low tone or have a poor understanding of the core? They are very weak in the stomach. They don't have midline. Belly crawling is where it comes from. You must spend a lot of time on the belly. Very important. Okay, now we have crawling patterns here, and these are variations. Okay, I want you to have a look at this and think about, what do you see? One is clearly more organized, and the other one is less organized. Okay, so you can see this one here. You can think about the symmetry. You can think about the rhythm. So this is slowed down for you to see. You can see that it's cross-lateral movement. Okay, that means the opposite hand, opposite leg, and foot is happening at the same time. And it's very coordinated. There's symmetry. Okay, then you can have a look at this one here. Okay, that's a clear sign that the child wants to move, but something is blocking the child from moving. And that happens. We have babies who have come to us with this exact problem, and I'll share that with you in a bit. Okay, these are variations. I'm sorry, before was not, this is variations, yeah. So variations are one-sided crawling. Some children tend to be very active on one side, and then the other side not so active. You have almost like a bunny hopping where the both knees and the feet are tucked, and they're kind of hopping a little bit. Some babies are using both arms. Okay, some babies are doing this, and they're moving the whole body, but the arms are, rather than hands open and then doing this, they're kind of using more of the elbows, and the hands are often kind of fisted a little bit. Okay, and then you have lots of lizard body rocking like this. But I want you to think about, when you do that, how do you see the toy that you want to go and get? Does that make you dizzy? We absolutely do not want the side rocking. I see a lot of this with 7-year-old, 6 years old when I'm working with the reflexes, and we put them on the floor, we play games, and we get them to do, you know, something we call Bauer reflex, and they cannot do it. They are rocking like this. How do you integrate both of your eyes, your visual? This is bilateral vision. How do you integrate it if your head is like swaying like this? Do you remember the slide that talked about head upright and having good control? That is very hard to get if you're like this, moving. Okay, so this baby only gets in and out of sitting. This one pushes up on all fours but can't move forward. And this one's inchworm crawling. Babies want to move. All babies are wired to move. But if they can't move the way they're supposed to, they will find a different way, and there will be compensations and ways to help them. It's not to say that this is wrong. It just means that we need to look beneath the surface, because we really want to understand what the brain is receiving from the movement. Okay, as I said before, we want hands, palms engaged, moving. We want the tummy on the floor a lot before they get on the hands and knees. We want the feet engagement with their head nice and strong, shoulders nice and strong. Okay, this is a baby. Oopsies. This is a little baby that came to us before, and the parent is actually very, 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 you could say she's an expert. She's actually in a very, very good medical field herself, and this is her third child. And she knew there was something blocking her baby from crawling, because the other two, she's had 2 other kids before, but she was seeing that the baby was starting to pull herself up against furniture, because she just wants to move to her brother and sister who are older than her. So motivation's there, but something's blocking her. So have a look at her, this little baby. This was about a week before coming to see us. You can see there's a lot of good stuff. Okay, but it's quite one-sided. There's a bit of struggle there. When I say one side, I mean this, we look at the leg. The right leg is moving a lot more than the left leg. So it's not totally symmetrical. It's not balanced. Okay. Now let's look at this one. This is the day before coming to us. Okay. Older sibling running around. You can see she really wants to join in. She's moving a little bit, but that's the most that she can crawl on her own until she gets to a furniture or something that she wants to start, walking alongside. We do not wish the baby skip crawling, because when they skip crawling, they're missing out on a lot of neural pathways training for the brain. We really want a lot of this. Okay, so the baby has had a lot of other checkups. Everything was fine. Went to get x-rays, chiropractor, everything. And mom just didn't understand what was happening. So I just spent one session playing with her. I did a few different reflex movement, leg cross flexion extensions, spinal Perez reflex, Babinski reflex, crawling. I played with her for about 5 different sessions for about 20 minutes. And then you can see this hand here. This is the mother using a bracelet to get her attention. And look at what happens to this baby. And look at how cross-lateral that is. Look at the efficiency of that. And then after this, the baby was just off nonstop. All I did was activate. We're all meant to be we're all genetically wired to move. Okay. And something happened, whatever it was, that blocked the baby from doing this. And then just through playing using the reflex integration methods of MNRI, this is what happened in a few minutes, actually. Okay. Now, when we are working with these foundations, what is being built? We're building the left side of the brain, right side of the brain. We're looking at a lot of interaction crossing between the two hemispheres. Reflexes we're not talking about Chinese reflexology. We're talking about primitive reflexes, infant reflexes. There are many different terms out there. Some people say primary reflexes, but we are working with the reflex integration. And then a lot of neural pathways and connections are happening. Okay. Why do these matter? These foundations support learning, attention, coordination, behavior, emotion regulation. And if we don't work on these, later on, they may show us up as a big meltdowns, regulation issues, difficulties, with focus and attention, learning, and maybe some diagnosis. Most of the children we work with are about 5 to 9 years old. We do have teenagers, we do have 10 years old, we do have younger than that as well. And we work with the reflexes, and we always find out that the reflexes are not integrated. Parents say they did tummy time, parents say they did crawl on the floor, they were this and that, but we have to look beyond these milestones and how, like just the fact that tick, they've done the milestones. We actually have to think about, did they have really good upright head control? Were they army crawling, or were the hands nice and open? Were they off to the hands and knees quite quickly, or were they on the tummy quite a bit and moving and pushing themselves up from the floor, from the tummy? Because these foundations are absolutely very important. Okay? Okay. I'm coming up to the end of my presentation, and then we can have some questions that I'm very happy to answer. What I want you to look for is that with your child at home, even if you have a 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 5-year, I know some of you in the audience have older kids, maybe 5-year-olds. It's good still to think about these concepts of playing on the floor. If they're always running, try to go down to the floor and play with them on the floor, not just get on the tummy and maybe sedentary reading book, but do some activities that's tummy on the floor, but maybe some movement, Okay, pretend to do some swimming, but on the floor, for example. We want to aim for symmetry. Symmetry means the head is nice and upright and is not this way or leaning, because that shows that there's a bit of weakness. So we need to be upright. And that means that two eyes can coordinate. You have the ears for auditory system can work because our approach focuses on the brain. And these are the things that we see that tells us what's happening with the brain. We want good coordination. We want good flow and rhythm. Is the movement effortful or is it easy? When we work with someone who's doing things and it takes them a lot of effort, even though they can do it, it tells us things are not integrated because all of these should be very easy and smooth, and we don't do it. We're not breaking a sweat. But there's some children that we work with, 7-year-old, 6 years old, 5 years old. If we get them to do certain movement, we put them on the floor, almost like a yoga pose, the yoga posture, and they have to work really hard to follow us. It means that there is something that we should look at. Okay. And we want a lot of contact with the floor. Go down to the floor, even if you have older children, play on the floor, because when they're on the floor, the body becomes longer, horizontally longer. That gives them a lot of information to the brain about the body instead of standing up. A lot of children we work with are very good at running around. They run and run and run, and they climb up and down, in the playground, and they're doing monkey bars. They're great at that. But they are not engaging the midline the way we want to is because the belly crawling time was not enough or not efficient, of whatever the reason is. Okay, so if you're unsure about what you're seeing, we can explore this together. You can book a complimentary discovery call over there, and I'm very happy to talk about your child specifically if you have any questions.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So interesting seeing the progress in particular, like when we get to see the actual real progress in, well, you were saying such a short space of time. Fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. And like you say, it was only because that mother was an experienced mother that she knew, hang on a minute, this is taking a little bit longer than before.
Yeah.
And I guess she could probably see the frustration in her little one's face. Like her little one probably knew I'm meant to be able to do this right now and was
Yes.
feeling like they should be able to do this, but was just struggling. So incredible and powerful. Let me see, we do have some questions that I'd like to put to you. So first one that I'm going to read to you. My baby has moved past belly crawling and is now crawling confidently. Should I still be prioritizing floor time? If yes, how does it evolve once they're mobile?
Yeah, this
That's
is this is tricky. Babies just want to move.
yeah.
If they're walking, it's really hard to stop them from walking and running, right? How old is the baby? Baby's moved past belly and is crawling. What did you say, Kathy?
It says moved past belly crawling and is now crawling confidently. Oh, almost 9 months. Just had
Okay,
an update.
still got time, tons of time. So the best thing to do is get down on the floor because the baby finds you absolutely, fascinating. He or she wants to spend time with mommy. So have a lot of opportunities where you're also doing the same thing. So if the baby gets up on the knees, fine, not a problem. But then push her down, him or her down on the floor with the tummy down again. Create as many opportunities for that as you can. Of course, when the baby is starting to walk and so on, let the baby walk as well. We don't want to stop that, but we just want to stretch out the belly part as much as possible because I really do see children who struggle with school once they're hitting like 7 years old. And a lot of that I know is if we had more tummy on the floor, things could have been different, but we don't know for sure. I have to be very clear. We don't know for sure. I'm just saying that because based on my experience. Yeah. So I would say to the parent that it's good to be on the floor, tummy on the floor, play, play, play as much as possible.
Yeah, and I I distinctly remember they just want to copy you. I know we are all short for time, but if your little one is constantly trying to get up, it's probably because they see you like a lot of the time up and busy. If you can carve out some of your day where you literally go belly down too, like right up with them, like your face is like, isn't it? Like it's their favorite thing
Mm,
in the world to look at. So
yeah.
like, carving out 5 minutes where you can literally get belly down on the floor in front of them and just show them this is what you're meant to be doing, little one. I know it's tough because we are all busy and we've all got, like, say, a million different roles and identities to try and fulfill. But
Yeah, but if the parents do what you're just saying, Kathy, if we get down the floor, the baby finds it absolutely fascinating. There, if your eyes and your face is to the same level as them, that makes everything much better. They're not gonna try and stand up and because they want to catch up to you as fast as possible. So if you're walking, all they see is your feet and your legs, right? That's all
what?
they see. The parents moving from one place to another. But if the parents are on the floor, they're like even the siblings can join in as well. That
Yeah.
that means they spend more quality time together on the floor. The thing is that in Singapore, especially because we're in such confined spaces, the babies these days get carried so much. They really do. This is a different conversation altogether. But babies in capsules, in carriages, are picked up all the time, and they don't have the space horizontally, like wide for them to move and creep. The floor is really an amazing teacher for babies. I cannot emphasize that enough.
Yeah.
Right? So if we are thinking about what the babies need or what young children need, let's get down on the floor. Let's make sure that we have some time in our schedule where we play, interact on the floor, right? Just get on the floor like J Lo with her song.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Right.
absolutely.
You know what I mean? Play and dance, put on music and be on the floor. Even with children who are 5 years old, 4 years old, they may not necessarily be on the belly as much anymore because they are on the hands and knees. It doesn't matter. Even on the hands and knees, it's still better than being upright all the time. Because once they get older and older, they're in schools, they're constantly upright. But if there are some things that it's not super efficient, it's not super it's not strong. We want to get down this way, then you have a lot more sensory feedback for the brain.
Yeah.
Very important.
It's
Down on the
interesting.
floor.
You've just you've just triggered something in my mind because I noticed like and now that I think about it, my daughter does it, but I noticed a lot of kids do it, and my daughter's 8, but she likes to lie on the floor. She'll go into like so she'll be belly down, like watching television, whatever we're doing. She actually will often choose to be lying on the floor, kind of resting on her. Is that kind of linked to it? If we can encourage kids to like, so she would often do that. She'd like get a crafting project and lay out and do it on the floor. Even as a young child, she would quite often enjoy to like paint or draw in that position as opposed to sitting at a table. Is that a
Yes.
good thing to do?
So children are very intuitive. They instinctively know what feels good. If you put a child who's doing a craft activity who requires to sit on the chair for a really long time and then they might get a little bit more tired and it's harder to focus and do what they're enjoying versus being on the floor, they may naturally choose to go to the floor because it's nicer. Sensorially, they get a lot more proprioceptive input.
Yeah.
That's the word again, right? The hands and knees, everything is touching the floor. It feels good. It's like getting a big warm hug and the floor is there because we want the surface area. Some children love that. Actually, all children love that. They all do. And then some, they will know they go to the floor.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's fascinating. We might have answered this in a long way about, but there might be a more simple answer you can give, a quicker answer. Next question. How
Mm.
long is a good length of time, as in months, how many months, that the baby should spend belly crawling?
Okay, so the idea is not necessarily how much time we need belly crawling. The thing is that we need to begin with tummy time from before even belly crawling, because tummy time, the tummy is on the floor already. Let me go back to one of the earlier pictures. Okay, this picture here, can you see this? Can you see my little blue dot, Kathy?
Yes, we
Okay,
can.
okay. You can see how low this child, maybe it's AI, I don't know. Do you see that how
Yeah.
low, like the shoulders come like this? This baby here hasn't hasn't really gotten the strength to come up.
Yep.
Okay, is struggling. Okay, same thing as this little baby here. Okay, diagonally, this baby here, it's low. Okay, so even though parents say they did tummy time for these two babies, they need longer on the floor and they need different activities that they're actually moving on the floor. Okay, then you can see these two other ones here in green and this one in pink. They're so confident, they're pushing up and they may be crawling or they may not be crawling just yet here, but the chest is off the floor coming up. There's probably a variety of movements at different angles, and the head is nice and strong and upright. So you can see my comment here. It says head lifted, hands open, toes pushing, body engaged. These are what we want to see. So and babies can actually begin tummy time from very early on, but they will need some support. You might need to get them in a different elevation. There are many, many videos on IGs these days you can see as well, or you can contact me, I can give you ideas. But they can do tummy time quite early on. It's just making sure the baby is comfortable and you do it properly, right? And then by the time they're about 7, 8 months old, they're starting to crawl and move. Okay. The other big milestone that I really wanted to talk about, but I didn't have time today, is sitting. Okay. Let's make sure the children are able to sit comfortably and by themselves without using those bumble things or assisted, because you want them to really engage the core, right? Really have very good control of the head. Oftentimes these days, parents are feeding the children or children are having textural differences and so on. Sometimes it can be because they are not super strong and they have different textural differences because of certain issues. So what I'm trying to say is that look for these signs. And I don't know if I answered the lady's question about how long to spend on the belly crawling, but 7, 8 months, 9 months, they definitely want to crawl on and start getting on the knees. And it's okay, but we want to make sure there's a lot of time on the belly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you mentioning the like the bumbo seats or whatever they're called,
Yeah.
that is a hill I will die on, is telling parents to not get those. Like let them build the core muscles to do it themselves. They will sit when they can sit, and the
Absolutely.
longer or that we delay that by propping them up in false ways, we're just not allowing them to develop that core stability.
And it comes back later on. People don't know that. It comes back when the kids are older. So let's
Yeah.
give them the right foundation in the
I
beginning.
know, and of course they don't know it because the retail giants are pushing all of this stuff, and parents are busy. Parents are busy, and they do need to find ways to constantly be multitasking. And
Yes.
you it's all well and good us expecting or saying to parents, oh, you need to be doing this and wait for that. And it's like, well, yeah, but dinner still needs to be made. you know
Yes. Yeah.
which I guess leads to really nicely another question that we've received, which is what kind of activities could we get our little ones to do to encourage them to develop, in particular, symmetry, but I guess the same thing with this tummy time. So I mean, my mind on getting them on their tummy, even at a young age, are like the play mats with activities already on them, like
Yes.
images on them, rattles embedded in them, squeaky things in the water things, like that you pat
Yep.
and push. I used to make those with
Mm.
Ziploc bags.
Yeah, perfect.
Double
Anything that
up.
captures the curiosity is the
Yeah.
most important thing. In the work that we do, there's something called the Pavlov reflex, which is the actual
Okay.
reflex of curiosity. And we
Oh,
absolutely want that.
wow.
Yes, babies are intrinsically motivated. They're very motivated to explore anything that has sounds, sights, anything novel, they will try and stay there. So if you have older kids as well, and you can also do that, all the nursery rhymes, animal crawling, animal bear walks, pushing up, you can do tummy time, but with a tiny bit of pushing as well, almost like press up, push up. You can do all fun things, add music to it. Yeah, kids are, they're gonna love it, especially if you spend time with them. They just want your time. That's all. Mm,
Yeah, oh, I
yeah.
know. And isn't that the irony though? It's and the time does go fast. I mean, we've all got a parent or a grandparent that keeps reminding us that this time is short.
Yes.
So finding those activities that you can do. I know I mentioned making those water pads yourself. I just want to say, guys, double Ziploc it if you do decide to do
Yes.
that. The number of times I did just one Ziploc bag and put like some food coloring in there and like a couple of little toys so they float around and she would like squish it.
Yeah,
And if you don't double Ziploc it, you could end up with a lot of mess.
absolutely. I'm just imagining that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and then very simple things, pots and pans are the best. Parents don't need to spend money, honestly. Less money we spend, it's actually more fun for the kids because a lot of the toys these days are way have too many fancy bells and whistles. They are pretty marketing lights and stuff. But actually, kids just they will be curious with pots and spoon, anything that make some noise, and they will just explore. Open-ended exploration is better than something that's really like super well thought out from the marketing perspective. It's different. You want things that are open-ended and they can be curious. A box is fantastic. How many things can a box turn into? The child can put the hand inside, can pull out, the head can go in, can come out, can put the foot in. The box can be torn. It can change shape. That is the best thing for creating curiosity. And then the brain is developing and so super sensorial. And they look at the things that happens with the hands and they go, oh my gosh, my hands are able to do this. And we have so many hand reflexes. Hand reflexes are tied to speech and language. If the more the children are doing with their hands, the more cognition intelligence they're building. So those babies who kind of army crawled, they're using this instead. They're not using their hands. And later on, they find that they start using the joints more because joints are compensation.
Oh,
Okay?
wow.
Yes, yes, yes. In our motor cortex, okay, our motor cortex, the thumb is next to the lips in the homunculus. It means that when we have a child with speech delay or some kind of communication, and communication is a huge thing because during the time of COVID, so many of these children grew up watching, having masks, and so these kids are 6 years old today, COVID babies, okay? I have my own personal thoughts about that. But so if we want to work on communication, speech, and cognition, my team and I, we go in and we attack the hands and we work on the hand and the reflexes, the finger reflexes, on all the different things. And that builds the speech, and speech improves and explodes because of the hand reflexes, because we know the brain. Sorry, that's
Wow.
another thing.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, I'm not kidding. And by the way, crawling, crawling, okay, it really activates curiosity and motivation. Children
Oh,
who did not crawl, okay, later on they grew up with less desire to find things that they can solve problems for, less desire to do things on their own. They're less motivated because when you're crawling as a baby, you always have a destination in mind. My mommy and daddy's home. I'm gonna crawl over to my mommy and daddy. Mom, daddy, I'm here. I see my brother here. I'm gonna crawl over. So I have my motivation to crawl. I have a plan crawling to my teddy bear. Babies who missed out 2, 3, 4 months of being on the floor, they're missing out all that. Do you know what I mean? All that
yeah.
lovely, lovely things happening in the brain, all this simmering of
Yeah.
reflexes and thinking. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it just made me
Very
think,
passionate about this.
yeah, a couple of things came to mind. One again was a silly tip that you put in my mind when you said about boxes, because my
Yes.
daughter, she had her fourth birthday during lockdown during COVID, and boxes, I had a corner. My husband hated it. I had a corner of the condo that I just kept every box I could possibly
Yep.
like get my hands on, and it stacked up and it stacked up. And it was like early days during COVID, so everyone was still pretty cool with playing with their normal toys. We obviously had, but once we got a good halfway into like COVID circuit breaker, we'd all got bored of the standard toys, and all of a sudden this pile of boxes just came into its own element. I mean, I had a an aeroplane we made that was like took up the entire living room because we'd stuck so many, and she'd sit in it and she'd sit on it and
Yes.
under it and do all sorts of things. And so yeah, utilizing what you've got as opposed to
The best thing for imagination.
yeah.
You have a sheet of bed sheet with boxes. They can make
Oh,
towers,
forks.
forks,
Oh,
so many things.
I
Give
want to
them
be a
scissors under supervision.
yeah.
Cut hole. I mean, there's so many things with
Yeah.
boxes. I love boxes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I do.
yeah,
Just thinking, heading back to the question about symmetry,
yes.
how do we know when it's not just a side preference or a natural stronger side? Like, obviously we
Yeah.
we, we tend to be like right dominated or left dominated, things like that. So how do we know that it's not just naturally that someone's using their right hand more for something
Yeah.
versus it being asymmetrical?
Great question. Great question. We do not want preferences and asymmetry in young children. They need to work on both sides. That's how
Okay.
the brain needs that as a foundation. Later on, now that I'm at my age, Kathy, now that you're in your age, or maybe in the 20s, as we get older, we may have preferences, but we've had this foundation early on. We need the children to have good foundation. If they're constantly using one side, make
Yeah.
sure if they're 3 years old, make sure you give them something for the other side. It's really
Okay.
important for the brain. Super, super important.
So
Super
if they're
important.
so if they're drumming, for example, let's say they've got the
Yes.
pots and pans out and some wooden spoons, and you've let them create their own little one human
Yeah.
band. Um, you want to still be seeing that they're whacking with
Both
both
sides.
hands.
Yes.
Ah, interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
Having said that, of course, the preferred side is going to be much more, able than the other side, and that's okay. Also, we have to be taking in mind, or like remembering the age group. For example, we're not going to be asking them to play the piano or do something really, really sophisticated if they're a certain age, right? But we want to give them opportunities so there is balance on both sides of the brain. That is super important because we have reflexes that works on one side of the brain and then the other side of the brain. And those reflexes of asymmetry lead to the reflexes that works on both sides of the brain together.
Okay.
Then if you're missing out on one side, one side, one side, because you're only doing this side, there's not that side, then you're going to miss out on all the other development that comes later, or there's going to be compensations. So this works with your visual integration because we have two eyes. See that? We got two eyes, and our midline is literally where our nose line is. So that's why head control is important. Yeah, as children get longer and taller, if they didn't get a lot of belly on the floor, belly tummy time, then this whole midline is not super stable. They end up kind of side glancing, or they have preference to one side and the other side. But we can't do that. I mean, we can, but we really should be building good foundation. Symmetry means balance both sides. Symmetry, balance both sides. And if you look at shoulders, supposed to be balance both sides. So it's okay that they prefer one side. You just make sure that also other side gets the same opportunity, and
Okay.
then they can get both sides
Yeah.
in the brain. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So if you
Yeah.
really do notice that they're kind of really only trying to grab with one hand, the other hand works, don't get me wrong, but they're never reaching to grasp for something,
Yeah.
or they're banging the drum with one hand and you take it out and try and give it to the other hand and they really won't accept it in that hand. They only want to hit with the other
Yes.
one. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I'm going to mention one more thing about this, Kathy. There are some babies, because of the way they're born and so on, they have a preference to one side when
Mhm.
they turn the head.
Yeah.
It's really, really important that you get that checked out. You can take the baby to the osteopath, or
Yeah.
you make sure that the baby also gets the same opportunity turning the other side. Maybe the parent needs to come around this a little bit. We have this routine reflex, get the baby
Yeah.
turn this way. Reflex is natural, so you can just do that, turn this way, and try to make sure the baby also has this other side turning. Sleeping, if the baby is always sleeping one side, turn to sleep on the other side. We need to get, because when there's movement, I'm thinking about the brain. Okay, so the brain needs to get both sides. Very important. It's a big thing.
Yeah,
The asymmetry.
and from a community wide perspective, that is a very big topic of conversation. As a postpartum doula, often supporting with feeding, sleep in that kind of acute postpartum phase, I see it a lot. And it can be through, tension during birth. It can be, interventions during birth. Baby just doesn't often quite manage to kind of get that full kind of stretch, themselves on the way out, the click 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 of the spine as they're coming out. But you're absolutely right, we always recommend manual therapists, typically the osteopaths. We've got the osteopathic center and Greg in the network, who is
perfect.
Well, his nickname is the baby whisperer. So he's, for anyone on the call that has ever noticed that, it's a quick visit that is nearly always beneficial.
So we also want to just to think about the perspective of the brain. Babies who have colic, babies who have a lot more constipation or they can't get the poop out. Okay, babies who were delivered via C-section. Okay, these are babies who would need a little bit more support in the early years, just to give them the right foundation is really, really good. Whether they want to see osteopath, see a chiropractor, come and see me and your connections, but it's ask questions, because the sacrum, which is the lower back, is directly tied to the gravity center. So the gravity center is under your tummy, right in the front, and then you've got sacrum in the back. We really want a nice movement of the pelvis and so on. So parents can do a lot of things themselves too, just through massage and through things, but do ask some questions. Yeah, and it's good just to learn more and be aware of different things to play and interact with the babies. Yeah.
1000%.
Yeah.
1000%. Yeah. And for those of you that are in the village, we're very used to getting these types of questions and pointing people in the right direction, not because we're trying to find problems. We're just trying to head things off at the pass and just be like, hey,
absolutely,
a quick visit here, a quick question there, and building that village of professional support so that it doesn't become a big thing. It's
and playing with babies while the babies are young on the floor is the best. It's the best.
It's the best part of my job.
Yeah, and it's so good for the brain. It's so good for their brain, and so good for us as well, because we feel happy playing with babies.
Yeah, genuinely.
Yeah. The concept of mirror neurons is real. That's why they imitate, parents. So it's great playing with them. Yeah, on the floor. On the floor. Yes.
Well, with that, we have come perfectly to the right time. So, this has been absolutely fascinating. Thank you so much, Hsiao. I absolutely love having you with us. Love that you have brought some of your village, people that knew you before, and that we've been able to kind of collaborate all of the villages together, create a bigger village to really, really benefit from this information, because it's so vital to learn this stuff, because we don't pick this up anywhere else, and there's too many deep, dark Google and internet holes and social media holes that we can go down to. So please do reach out to Neural Connections. I know Hsiao's got a fantastic team working with her, so make sure you reach out, book that discovery call if you've got any questions. You can also always ask questions in the village. We'll always direct you to the right people. And thank you ever so much, everyone, for your time. We hope you've enjoyed today's masterclass. Thank you and bye.
Thank you, everyone.
If you're looking for more support on your pregnancy, postpartum, or parenting journey in Singapore, make sure you check out our website, pregnantandpopped.com. And if you want personalised, empathetic, professional guidance, join the Pregnant and Popped Village, because you shouldn't have to Google motherhood.